On today's show, Laura Heywood interviews
April Kidwell, actress, singer, writer, and satirist. Welcome to Laura Heywood Interviews. I'm Laura Heywood, and I'm really excited about my guest today. As you know, I'm a big fan of all things musical theater. You might even call me a professional musical theater fan. And a lot of my guests are big-name stars. In my archive, you'll find interviews with Tonya Pinkins, Thomas Sadoski, James Monroe Iglehart, Mandy Gonzalez. And coming up on Wednesday, John Cameron Mitchell will be here. I am also thrilled to be able to use this platform to introduce you to all sorts of other people I admire in and out of the theatrical space. That includes underground artists, groundbreakers, and those creating their own artistic platforms. Today's guest is a friend of mine from years back. We actually met working on a music festival in the mountains of California. I was doing social media, and she was an artist liaison and also the set designer. But I'd seen her on stage years before when she played Jesse Spano in BAYSIDE, the Saved by the Bell musical. She embodied Elizabeth Berkley's character so well that she's gone on to make a career out of playing the actress, not just in her squeaky clean morning television persona, but more and more as the fiery, misunderstood dancer, Nomi Malone from SHOWGIRLS. She portrayed Nomi in SHOWGIRLS the musical off-Broadway. That was a spoof, an unauthorized musical, for more than 2 years, and has since created her own one-woman show called I, Nomi, which is sort of a satirical hybrid of SHOWGIRLS and I, TONYA, which ran to rave reviews in San Francisco. And I'm thrilled that it's going to begin a New York run at the Laurie Beechman Theater in July. I have not seen it yet, so April's going to tell me all about it. In fact, we have so much to catch up on. We haven't seen each other since Bear Music Fest in California in 2016, and you're going to get to listen in as we catch up on everything that's happened since. Welcome, April Kidwell.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to see you.
I'm so happy to see you.
You have been up to such big things.
Yeah.
I'm catching you right on the heels of a big red carpet moment.
That was so much fun.
So, unrelated to your show, or separate from your show, is a new documentary film called You Don't Know Me that premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival, and you're featured in this film?
I am. It's comprised of voiceover interviews from contributors to the Showgirls fan culture like myself and Peaches Christ, as well as a variety of academics on the subject of all things Showgirls like Adam Naiman and David Schmader and Jeffrey Conway.
Who would have thought when Showgirls first was released and was so widely panned that there would be academics on the subject?
I know.
Much less a culture of fandom that has led to careers for people like you.
Yeah.
25 years after the fact.
Yep.
So talk to me about your origins with Showgirls. Did you see it when it first came out? You must have been a little kid.
I was a little kid, and I remember seeing clips of it on TNT where they had the cartoon cheetah print bra on her.
I remember that too.
Oh my God.
That this was the first and I think only film that was rated NC-17 and still got a wide theatrical release.
Yeah.
And there were security guards at the doors making sure people weren't sneaking in from other movies. But then when VH1 bought the rights to play it on television, there's so much nudity that they painted on underwear during the nude scenes.
So bad.
Yeah, but now that feels like it's its own cult thing.
Oh, yeah.
This moment in time where now they probably could do it in a way that would look realistic. But back then...
Yeah. Very obvious.
Yeah.
It was surprising that the painted on cheetah print bra actually moved with her breasts, so they did a good job.
Yeah.
That way.
For the time, yeah. But also I feel like the breasts are kind of the reason you watch the movie.
Yeah.
Thanks to you. Yesterday was actually my birthday,
Yay!
and I had an incredible day, but I actually spent the afternoon or the evening having a double header. I first watched I, TONYA for the first time, and then I watched Showgirls, which I thought I had seen before, but I think I must have seen it on VH1 or on an airplane or something, because it was so much more sexual than I remembered it.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that there was full frontal. I
Yeah.
knew about the boobs, but I'd forgotten that it was full on
Vagina Town.
yeah, Vagina Town, exactly. For some reason, the one part I remembered was her talking about her getting. She was like, I was having my period, or and the wording of it's like no woman would ever talk about it like that.
No, I just got my period. Yeah, right. Check.
Yeah, but
Ew.
there were several times when she referred to I was having my period, But that check scene, that's classic.
Something special.
Okay, so so you saw promos for it on VH1?
I saw that, but then when I was working on a cruise ship, we started having bad movie nights, and someone's choice for that particular evening was Showgirls, and it was just so deliciously jaw-dropping. I'd never seen anything like it in my life, particularly wowed by the beginning moment where Nomi beats up a car, vomits, then almost makes out with Molly, who just then became her lifelong best friend.
Whose car she'd just beaten up.
Yeah.
So what were you doing on the cruise ship?
I was the lead singer in the production shows.
That's amazing. It's so funny to we spent this very intense music festival weekend together. But what I remember most about you is that you were like crocheting unicorn hats and you were about to go to Burning Man and you were going to go didn't you go off the grid to go build a boat or something?
I did. I went to school at the Earthship Academy building off the grid self-sustainable houses made out of basically trash, bottles, cans, and tires.
So we'll come back around to that.
Yeah.
But I love hearing about this fancy performer life of yours too, because one of the things I love talking about on the show is the fact that we are not all that our brand necessarily is.
Yes.
And that's why I called the show Laura Heywood Interviews instead of the Broadway Girl Show, because even though that's a very accessible brand, there's so many other things I'm excited about. And I feel like for you, I can imagine that it's really easy now for people seeing I Know Me to be like, oh yeah, you're that Elizabeth Berkley performer, and then to find out that you're interested in things like being off the grid, or
Love
to
it.
be like a super, I hate to say granola nature girl,
Oh,
but I'm
yeah.
going to say granola nature
It's
girl.
what it is.
And a longtime burner,
Yes.
and just you're doing your own thing and creating your own life without any boundaries. Just nobody else makes the rules, you make the rules.
Yeah, it's been a long journey finding that. I just got so sick and tired of going on auditions for things like a diaper commercial that only lasted a minute. It was just a total waste of my day and my life. And I was lucky to be guided under the mentorship of Peaches Christ when I moved out to San Francisco after performing Showgirls musical in San Francisco, and then finding my way in this community that is so nurturing and supportive. It's not competitive at all because everybody just loves creating good art together. And that has really helped me find my way as my own boss and challenging myself to employ myself and becoming a producer of my own content, which is the hardest thing I've ever done.
I can only imagine. I mean, I'm experimenting with it a little bit with this radio show, but I also have so much support from Derek and Romaine, who run DNR Studios, and from my social media following and my family and my friends and stuff. But you've really created something that you own in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
How did you get from the cruise ship bad movie night where you were like, this is ridiculous and amazing,
Yeah.
to actually getting into Elizabeth Berkley's skin?
Oh boy. That was in 2010. And so I guess it wasn't that long after. Wow. Now that I'm analyzing it, in 2012, I was living in New York, and I'm going to give you the real honest story how this happened. I was raped. I was drugged and raped at my place of work. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, this is a significant part of this journey. And I became a recluse. I was just, shattered. And I wouldn't leave the apartment. And all my savings were gone. And I was just so frail and distraught by PTSD. And then the person I was with some months later found the audition notice for BAYSIDE the musical, and he told me, if you audition for this, I would be really proud of you. And that was my first step out into that Elizabeth Berkley journey. And what I found and that experience, because that character, Jesse Spano, on stage, the role was a panic attack the whole time because she's addicted to caffeine pills. I could not go out in public without breaking down crying. I was having panic attacks all the time. It was uncontrollable. And so having that outlet for my panic attacks on stage really helped me step out of that. And so then the journey how it unraveled is that we had such success doing Bayside the musical that Bob and Tabitha McSmith, the creators of Bayside the musical, they're like, we want to write Showgirls the musical for you. And they did it in 3 months. And then it was just, the whole journey has been me healing the PTSD from the rape.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Here I was sitting in the audience of Bayside being like, go Tigers, and like having a huge, cheer go up when you were like, I'm so excited, I'm so scared, because I grew up on Saved by the Bell. I mean, I remember watching it when they called it Good Morning Miss Bliss, like in the very early years when oh my gosh,
Haley
what was
Mills.
her? Yeah, Haley Mills was the teacher, and like little Zach Morris was probably like 14, and so I went and saw your performance, and you were going through a real transformative emotional life change and taking control of a situation where you had been really out of control.
Yeah.
And to the outside eye, it just looked like a like kitschy fun night at the theater.
It was, I didn't have the resources for therapy, and I was abandoned by the government systems that I've been paying taxes for.
Oh my gosh.
I had nothing but the grace and kindness of friends, because eventually I was also evicted during that period. And so I was, crashing on friends' couches. And the thing that kept me going was doing Bayside and then Showgirls. It really helped me. That was my therapy for years. And I'm being more vocal about it, but I think it's a true testament to what we do as artists, and that is what I would like to give back with my experiences, teaching others that you can heal your trauma with your art.
Yeah. Well, okay, so first of all, that's incredibly brave, and I'm glad you went to the audition, and I'm really glad that your friend or your partner, whoever it was that found that audition, said to you, I'd be proud of you if you went out for it. Not you're going to get it, or like this is the key to your recovery, but just like take a step out the door, baby steps. I am also a survivor of sexual assault, and I have been in therapy for 25 years, and I believe very deeply that that talking about it is a part of healing.
Yeah.
I was not expecting the story to go that direction, but I'm so supportive of it. I'm so glad that that you're talking about not only the fact that it happened to you and reclaiming that as something that to not be ashamed of, but to talk about how you took control and took the power back and used the experience to propel you forward as an artist.
Yeah.
I'm
that
proud
was
of
unexpected. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I also am really struck by how much of this story it has in common with Nomi's story.
It's so weird.
And, like I said, I watched Showgirls yesterday, and I was very struck by how ridiculous it is.
Yes.
But there are some important political statements going on, and there's a lot of discourse about whether Showgirls is satire or it's a film about exploitation and shedding light on how showgirls, dancers, strippers, and sex workers are treated by the systems that are supposedly in place to protect them, and that it might be a commentary on how abused they are. So I was sort of watching it through dual lenses. And then, of course, also I, TONYA, which I Nomi takes from, or I should say, like, pays tribute to.
Yeah.
Both of these stories are about women that have been severely abused and really put through the ringer and find ways to the best of their abilities, not give up and keep fighting through their art.
Yep.
And it sounds like that's exactly what you've done.
It is. Yeah.
Do you think that having access to that more human side of them allows you to treat this less as if you're making fun of these women and more to step into their skin in a respectful way?
Absolutely. I revere this character and this person. I feel empathy for them. I understand. Mm-hmm. I understand. I come from a home of great abuse as well, and I understand the grittiness of this and the darkness and the humanity, and I find the humor in it, not tearing them apart, but empathizing with it and being compassionate and, finding it's like those films. Well, I Know Me in particular is definitely a very over the top and hilarious commentary on the exploitation of women in this industry.
How did you go about writing it?
Well, we were going to do Showgirls the musical again in San Francisco, but it didn't work out because of scheduling. So Peaches Christ said, "Well, I think you should do your own one-woman show." And I was like, "Well, what should I do it about?" And he's like, "Everybody loves the Nomi thing. Do Showgirls meets I, TONYA, and it's called I Know Me." And there you go.
Well, I mean, the title is great.
Yeah,
and for the same reason that the documentary film You Don't Know Me is, they gave you a gift just by naming her Nomi.
Yep.
So I Know Me is spelled I, the letter I, comma, Nomi. And actually, April and I are both wearing our I Know Me T-shirts that say, "I'm not a whore, I'm a dancer." I'm thrilled that you brought me this shirt. I assume that they'll be available for sale at the show.
They're
on your website?
I haven't put them on my website yet because I haven't figured out how to do the commerce part. I'm working on it.
Got it.
It's a step. I've got a full plate producing, so it's not the top priority, but it's going to be there. There's also a nail file in your bag that says "for that hoary look."
Oh my gosh! Nomi's nails are legendary. I'm so glad that you have merchandised.
It's fun. It's super fun. I'm very lucky to have a friend who has seen me do every incarnation of playing Nomi, every production I've done. He's come to every show, and he owns his own merch company. So.
Amazing. Well, he can probably help you with the commerce side of your website,
yeah,
too.
That's a good point. I will follow through with that.
Okay, so getting back to writing this show, it was not, I assume, just as simple as taking lines from Showgirls the musical and making it into a monologue instead of a musical.
Well, this one also stems from another thing. So here I'm going to go back to it, the whole rape, sexual assault thing.
Let's do it.
Okay.
No shame.
So when I did BAYSIDE the musical, I was sexually assaulted by Dennis Haskins, the actor who played Mr. Belding, while we were backstage before he went on stage. And it was a really...
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
This is the guy who played it in the show.
Yeah. Yeah. He's, turns out, a super creep. And that was, after everything I had already been through, that was another traumatic situation. And for years, I just held on to this anger. And, Peaches had told me to do this show. And I'm thinking about it. It was before I started writing. This song came out of me one day, this ballad, and it was the first part of the show that I wrote, and it was about that experience with Dennis. And, that just evolved into a scene and into a full play. And so that was the foundation of the writing process, was my soul getting that thing out. And since doing that, I have been able to move on and not live my life being angry about that one incident. So that's pretty cool.
I know that there's no... I'm curious about how that went down after that happened with Dennis Haskins and whether any legal or professional action was taken. I want to clarify that there are plenty of reasons to not pursue legal action, and it doesn't... whether or not that happened does not determine the validity of the claim. And I think that it can be dangerous to be like, well, did you report it? Because that can indicate... that can come across as victim blaming, and I don't even really want to go near there, but I'm also like, did he get fired?
No, it kind of... I love that group that I worked with. They made some mistakes.
Yeah.
I was forced to leave the show, and Dennis was kept on.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It turned out to be a blessing, and from that experience, I met Peaches Christ.
Yeah.
And then I found a community that was my community. And that's a safe space for, this kind of fun work. It all worked out for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad. And I do think that, it's quaint or sort of like, it's way oversimplifying to say, like, the most successful people I know have found a way to take the worst thing that ever happened to them and reframe it as the best thing that ever happened to them. Yep. And I would hate to put words in your mouth and say that you getting raped at your workplace and then sexually assaulted on a show where you were already playing a very fragile character.
Yeah.
I would hate to be like, oh, come on, April, those are the best things that ever happened to you. Because
so
that's not for
weird.
anybody to say. And no, I don't think anybody ever would say that. But I think the fact that you have found this silver lining in an artistic family and in these works that seem very satisfying to you is a real testament to your own resilience.
Thank you. I do feel that way, though. I would never want to experience any of those things ever again, but I wouldn't be here today knowing these things about myself and becoming a much stronger person had I not had these experiences. And there's nothing I can do to take it back. And I have grown exponentially because of it. And I've been able to help other people after every. So I use Dennis Haskins in I Know Me. I wrote it that he's the bad guy. And I do it in a very clever way that I'm very proud of. And that aside, I definitely tackle the subjects of child abuse, exploitation, and rape in that show. I mean, these are heavy issues, but the show is done in a way where it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And I have handfuls of women consistently after each I Know Me performance thanking me for triggering them and helping them laugh through their trauma. And I think that is the most important thing that is I feel like that's part of my purpose on this earth is to help people because what are the statistics that half of the female population have been raped and sexual assaulted? And if I can use my experience to help other people, to help them laugh, because there's nothing we can do to take those traumas, those abuses back, but we can change our relationship with them.
Again, who would have thought in 1995 that Showgirls would be this empowering? I mean, I think so many women in particular were like, the movie itself is exploitative, while certain people are claiming that was created to shine a light on exploitation.
Yeah.
And like Elizabeth Berkley's career was like ruined,
destroyed. She went through such a horrible public shaming. It is awful and horrendous. And I feel like we're at a period in our group consciousness where we are taking a second look at how we treat women, slut-shaming women like Elizabeth Berkley, like Monica Lewinsky.
Oh, have you seen Monica Lewinsky's TED Talk?
Yes, and I love it.
Where she's like, I was 20-something, I was a kid who fell in love with her boss.
Yeah.
Like, give me a freaking break.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody should watch that. I mean, I even think that something like, did you watch the miniseries about Oj Simpson?
No, I watched the one not the one with Cuba Gooding Jr., but the one that was the actual documentary.
Right. Yeah. Well, the Marcia Clark was the prosecutor in the trial, and she was bullied so much because like her hairstyle and stuff. And I want to say, I can't remember who the actress was who played her in the miniseries. But it was Sarah Paulson.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah Paulson played her, and during her Emmy speech, she won the Emmy, and she was like, I want to apologize to Marcia Clark on behalf of myself and the entire American people for like making you the butt of all of our jokes when you were just trying to do your job and like hold it together as a woman under the critical eye of, the culture. And that was not somebody who was put in a, I mean, any kind of exposure is intimate exposure, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have as a culture, and I use we purposefully. Like we all have to accept responsibility, I think, and complicity. But man, people are mean to women.
Yeah, yes they are. Just back off.
Yeah.
I love, what is it, Betty White? She had some quote about, the word pussy, like. Part of my friendship that is too.
Oh no, we can say whatever we want on this platform.
Great. The
or we
word
can just call it Vagina Town, like
Vagina
you said earlier.
Town. Gonna take a train. What was it? Betty White had something to say about the word pussy, and she's like, "Pussies are tough. Pussies can take a beating. It's like men or penises that are the weak ones."
Yeah, balls. You just touch them, and they like.
Yeah.
They shrivel up and they, people fall over. But yeah, there's nothing stronger than a vagina.
Yes. Celebrate it. And I feel like that's what's happening. And I'm so grateful for this Me Too movement, as I feel like a lot of women and Men
too.
are survivors. Are
No pun intended. Me
yeah.
too. Have you met Elizabeth Berkley? Is she
No.
aware of any of this stuff? She's got to be, right?
I don't know. I'm being respectful of her space and her journey with it. My intention has always been to be like of camaraderie of her choice to do such gratuitous nudity, and I would never. I have absolute all the respect in the world for her and appreciation for her. Do you know about her Ask Elizabeth Foundation?
I do. I actually met her.
Oh my God.
I'll show you a picture of me with her years ago when she had just written a book, and she came to SiriusXM when I was working as a talent booker there.
Oh, cool.
And she was talking about like writing advice to young women, and I think that women, young and old, want to take advice from people who have been through the ringer.
Yep.
I don't want to take advice from somebody who's just laid back and like had an easy life. What do you know? What do you know about what it's like to be bullied, to be shunned, to be professionally exiled, more or less.
Yeah.
And to have bounced back. I think that this is why TED Talks in general are such an important force in the world, and why people are so drawn to them, is it's always people talking about their resurrections.
Yep.
And I think we're bored with the idea that life is supposed to be easy, and more people are inspired to take their setbacks, to use a pretty like lightweight word, or their experience of basically being destroyed.
Yeah.
And to rise from the ashes and to be better people, not just in spite of trauma, but as a result of the trauma.
Yes. Grace.
Yeah.
People want to know how. People want to learn from each other. How can we rebuild ourselves, and how can we handle life's traumas and challenges with grace?
I can imagine that. While I think it's incredible that you are respecting her space and not being like, have you seen my show or whatever, I can imagine that if she had the opportunity to hear you talk about your own experiences and how you have wrapped them into telling a story through a character that she created on screen, that she couldn't help but appreciate that, because it would be really easy for somebody to just play a caricature of her, and as a way of like laughing at her, instead of being empowered by her.
I hope that however life unfolds itself, it would be really cool to be able to bridge that and to be able to share that with her, and to share my profound gratitude for the work that she has done and the bizarre impact, an unexpected and unplanned impact that it has had on my life. That is significant, that her work was meaningful, even just for helping save one person.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like getting kind of choked up about it. I kind of want to send her this interview, because I'm sure she's aware of the fact that there was a Showgirls, a musical. I'm sure. Did the documentary makers from You Don't Know Me, did they approach her about it?
I don't know. They didn't use anyone who was actually involved in the film.
They were just talking about the cult culture of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's got to be on her radar.
Yeah. Well, and I know that she has had she went to a screening of it a few years ago in LA, and that's included I don't know, spoiler alert, that's included at the end of the film. So it seems like she's embracing the celebration of it, which is awesome. I
can't imagine her not being proud of the legacy.
I hope so. I sure hope so. Yeah. And the story is changing, and as our American culture is.
Yeah.
I think it may not seem like it all the time, especially, in these very tumultuous times. There are things that are changing for the better.
What were you going to say about her Ask Elizabeth Foundation?
I'm just so impressed by what she's able to do with her life. Her acting career was so maliciously destroyed by just freaking slut-shaming prudish haters. And she was able to turn it into something really positive and helping young women, girls and young women love themselves.
Do you know if she's performing anymore?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. She was on the L Word a few years back.
That sounds like a good spot.
Yeah.
Like a very female power, sex positive.
Yeah.
Like loving. I mean, I was not on the inside of that show, but I sure watched it.
I have only seen a couple episodes. I didn't see her episodes, unfortunately. No, I'm thinking of, no, it wasn't the L Word. What was the one with the gay guys?
Queer as Folk.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, that show is hot.
I know. Yeah, that was a great show. I can't wait to see I Know Me.
Oh, it's so over the top and fun. And it also makes you think. My friends call it dumb done smart.
Dumb done smart.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I think that should be your pull quote.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Are tickets on sale yet?
They are. You can go to aprilkidwell.com. That's the most easiest direct way to go to it. It's being produced by Spin Cycle NYC, and it's at the Laurie Beechman Theater.
Cool. And it looks like you've got some dates coming up in Seattle as well.
Yeah, I'm going on the Different Places tour. No one's going to DIFRENT Different Places. Going to Seattle, going to Las Vegas, and there are other dates in the works, and the ink has not dried yet.
How is it going to be playing Nomi Malone in Las Vegas?
I'm so excited. I grew up in Las Vegas. Well, I moved there when I was 16, and I finished high school and went to college there, and I played Cleopatra at Caesar's Palace.
Shut up.
Oh my God, it's so dumb. It was a really great job for being in college.
I can imagine. Was it similar to like the experiences that Nomi Malone had in Vegas?
I love Vegas. That's where some of my best friends live. I'm grateful for my time there. It is not. I don't want to. It was weird for me. My experiences were different because I was Mormon and a virgin and a goody goody two shoes.
Okay, hang on a second. It just got interesting.
Yeah.
The Mormonism specifically,
Yeah.
like what your sexual experience was at that point, is not as important to me.
Okay.
Or I mean, we were all virgins once, but we were
Yes.
not all Mormons.
No, yeah. So I was a Mormon in Las Vegas, which surprisingly, Mormonism is the largest denomination of faith in Las Vegas.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's more to Vegas than the Strip.
There is. Yeah. There are at least 1 million people who live there and work there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. A lot of them are Mormon. And a lot of them are not anything. That have chosen not to belong to any faith, but that is the biggest faith. Yeah.
So is it, I mean, that feels contradictory to me. What is, and you were working on the Strip.
I left the church when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
My parents left when I was 12, interestingly enough.
And you stayed.
I stayed. I was the last member of my family to leave, and it was for social reasons, and I don't feel like I really understood what it was, what it really meant, what a commitment it was to belong to a church or religion. And I remember I got into Las Vegas Academy, the performing arts magnet school called LVA. And throughout town, it was nicknamed LV Gay because gay students were welcome to hold hands down the hall and go to prom together.
So it was called that in a nice way,
Yeah.
not in a derogatory way.
And I remember my Sunday school teacher, I shared with Sunday school that I got into LVA. And he said, I spit on faggots. Yeah. And he just went on this whole tirade about gay people. And that is when I was like, I'm done. I can't be a part of this.
Did you have any gay friends at that point? Did you?
Very few. It's the very beginning of that. But that was definitely the line in the sand where I chose my gay family over anything else. It was just like very clear to me that those are not the teachings of Christ.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a part of that. Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Yeah,
Again,
thanks.
another example of you, like, bucking the trend, resisting the power, speaking truth to power. And
integrity is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially as young people, I think it's so easy to accept other people as authority, especially adults.
Yeah.
I still have a problem being like, speaking up when somebody says, I mean, look, if I'll speak up about the political situation or whatever, but if somebody that I know well in my personal life and, who claims something, I'll be like, wait, am I wrong here?
Yeah.
And I'm just at 40 getting used to the idea that I can be like, no.
Yeah.
Like, especially when it comes to myself and my own values, like I am the best and the only real authority on me and what I believe and what and what my values are.
Absolutely.
The fact that you were able to do that at 16 really speaks a lot to your inherent character.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It was the best choice.
What what else is going on in your life? Like, is Nomi everything right now, or is other stuff going on?
I actually just premiered a film at the San Francisco International Film Festival. It's called Eat the Rainbow. It's written and directed and starring Brian Benson / Cousin Wonderlet, who is this gloriously boogery drag queen who I love.
Boogery?
Boogery is a term for. So you have the glam drag queens.
Yeah.
There are many different. There are different kinds of drag queens, but boogery is a special sect of drag queens who are the more off-kilter ones. Probably not the. They're the ones who aren't afraid to get gross.
Got it.
It's so fun.
I mean, I'm tapped into drag culture in only the most superficial sense. I mean, I have friends who do drag, and I like go see them at therapy or other drag bars around the city. But mostly, what I know is from Drag Race.
Oh, so
I just
great.
learned the term fish.
Ah,
Because I was like, I like the pretty ones. Like, I like the ones that look like, they look very dainty.
Yes.
And my friend Michael was like, yeah, you like the ones that are fish. And I was like, is that
Yeah.
Which basically means they look like traditional women.
and I've had some talks with some of my drag friends, and I guess it's like I don't know. Their standpoint is I can't have an opinion about that word. And
About
so it's
fish?
yeah.
That you can't have an opinion
No,
about? Or
yeah.
that they can't?
I can't have an
Oh.
opinion about it because it's not my culture. And so I'm like, okay, I don't have the energy to like get into a fight about it. But as a woman, it's like, okay, so the word fish, it's when referenced to woman, it's pretty derogatory.
Yeah, well, I would think so. That was my first question.
Yeah.
Is this an odor
Yeah.
related
Is this-
question? And I would say that I absolutely can have an opinion on that.
Yes.
Because the drag queens who are called that are obviously not being like, it's not a reference to their anatomy. It's
No.
a reference to a biological cis woman's anatomy.
Yes.
And
It's an interesting
so it is a
conversation.
comment on me,
Yeah.
not on. I mean, that would be my initial thoughts, but I also would defer to the community and ask, what
Yeah.
their point of view was, and that you
Yeah.
and I, as two cis women, probably can't have the final say on
No. And I
something
accept
related to a culture that we are
Yeah.
not, ingrained in.
Yeah, and I accept that, and I support that, and I think conversations are good because we can learn from each
Me
other.
too, and I'm actually very excited to learn the term boogery.
Boogery is so great.
So this means that drag queens who aren't necessarily the height of glam.
Yes,
Um,
that get super gross. Like Cousin Wonderlet, especially, has like these really nasty a set of like kind of buckish teeth and just pretty gross. And his films are usually wonderfully disgusting.
I'm not really drawn to disgusting stuff in general. What does that mean?
A variety of uses of things like vomit and poop, lowbrow humor. But this film,
I love a good poop joke.
Great.
But that doesn't mean I want to see poop or vomit.
Ugh. Well, maybe not all the Cousin Wonderlet films would be good for you. But in Eat the Rainbow was a really interesting evolution from the previous Cousin Wonderlet films. It's a 20-minute long musical about inclusion and coming together and appreciating all races and humans in all forms. It's such an uplifting and fantastically done musical comedy. And Dolores Huerta makes a wonderful featured appearance in it. So that was fun.
Cool. Is that something that we can see? Should we be looking at other festivals?
Was at the San Francisco Film Festival. It's going. I don't know if I have clearance to say if it's been announced the other festivals, but it will be screening, premiering at other festivals around the world as well.
And what was your role in that film?
I played Lobelia Gerber. She is a racist real estate agent with white hair and a white power suit.
Oh
and a
my gosh.
fierce eye twitch.
How do you act in eye twitch? She's doing it. You just blink like a maniac.
Yeah. I have a very rubbery face, and Brian knew that when he wrote the part, and knew that I would be able to step up to the challenge of standing still and making comedy just using my face.
So unlike You Don't Know Me, which is a documentary that premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival, this film is, which is called Eat the Rainbow, is not a documentary.
It's not a documentary.
It is a fictional film.
Yes, and I have one more film coming out this summer. It's called Bride of Death, and it's...
Please tell me you play the title character.
I do. Evelyn Maxwell, and she is... it takes place... It's a period piece. It takes place in like the 50s, and Evelyn still lives in the 30s, and she's an over-the-top actress who is evil and is obsessed with being an actor, and it's a horror film and black and white, and it was so delicious to play it. I grew up, so when I was a kid, anytime we had company over, I would reenact the Wicked Witch of the West's death scene without being prompted. It was like, okay, here we go, show's right, ready, action. And so doing Bride of Death was like a really delicious revisiting of that. That character is very Scarlett O'Hara meets the Wicked Witch of the West, and I love it. I'm excited about it coming out.
Are all of these projects created with people that are your artistic family?
Yeah, and that has been the biggest, since I had that experience with Dennis Haskins, it was a defining moment in my artistic life that I only want to work with people I love and trust and make great work. That is my top priority. Everything else is secondary. I want that work, that meaningful work with people that I love and trust, to bring more work with more people I love and trust.
Do you still audition for like the diaper commercial
No,
that might only last a minute?
Stopped.
No more representation. Just
I haven't. I've done all this on my own. I was thinking about it. I'm in an Amanda Palmer phase. I read.
Oh
her.
my gosh,
she's so good.
Amazing.
I'm so in love with her, and I'm just scratching at the surface of exploring her music. Her book, The Art of Asking, is so influential on my artistic process, and so I've been kind of, especially since I know me, going at this on my own, and I'm really grateful that so far it's working. Yes, I need help. I would love to have a manager to help me with the more administrative business side of things, but these are the things I have to learn. No matter what, to continue going forward doing this project.
I love that you use the word learn. This is something that I didn't learn how to learn until I was like in my 30s. I mean, I graduated from college. I did great,
Yeah.
And I've certainly had a successful career, but I always lived with this imposter syndrome because I somehow expected that I was just supposed to know everything that I was supposed to know.
Yeah.
And that I didn't understand the idea that being new at something was different than being bad at something. And so I would never allow myself to be new at something. I never gave myself credit for progress. I only gave myself credit for results, which meant that if I tried something that I'd never done before, I wasn't going to be an expert in it. So I just never tried new things.
Man.
I know. And I am, when I just had this big birthday, and I have been sort of taking stock of my life and looking, 40 really is, the middle of the average human life at this, in this first world country at this point in time, that I now have just as my entire concept of time. I get to have another whole one of those.
Wow.
And if I can focus on becoming 1% better every day, imagine where I'm going to be when I turn 50.
God, that feels so good. That's a really great, manageable way of looking at it.
Right?
1% better every day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That I totally get from my fitness community. I go to this culty gym called Mark Fisher Fitness, where everyone dresses up in costumes and like I'll decorate it. You would love it. It's like unicorns and glitter, and there's like dildos everywhere.
Yes!
And they say like the difference between a squat and a hinge is like with a squat. I can't believe I'm about to say this. My parents are going to listen to this, but they'll be like, a squat is if the dildo was on the floor, and a hinge is if the dildo is on the wall.
Yes.
So you like whether you put your hips down or you put your hips back. I actually don't think anybody said that there that I've heard in like 5 years since I started going there. It used to be a little more it's become a little more commercial, and it's still not necessarily a family-friendly place.
Still fabulous.
But it's an acquired taste, and it's a culture of weirdos who are all dedicated to being their best selves and embracing what makes them different instead of trying to look like everyone around them.
Gosh, that's so great. That is
I want to
so
take you
great.
there.
I
feel
would
like you
love
would
it.
be. I sort of feel like you already are part of that culture, even though you haven't been over there.
That's similar to my life out in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like, definitely a part of that culture. And I do. It's not that far. There's no dildo squatting.
We don't actually.
Yeah, but
it's just a way of thinking about it.
I do a dance class called Roryography, and it's my church. And it is my friend Rory, who's the choreographer for I Know Me, and he's a well-known choreographer in San Francisco. And he does this dance class that's like Richard Simmons meets Jane Fonda on crack. And we just dance the cheesiest, most stupid dances. And it's for all ages, all body types, all skill levels. And
you're an incredible dancer.
But I still work my ass off. And
I could go to that class with you. And even though like my only dancing is what I do around my apartment when
absolutely, you could do it. Anybody can do it. Roryography. It's so freaking fun. And we are singing out loud to all of these really amazing, cheesy music. Spice Girls, Highway to the Danger Zone is one of my favorite ones. New Kids on the Block. And usually we end with a ballet bit to Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. And if you're not singing along, you have to leave the room, basically. It's so fun.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Dance
You're my people, April Kidwell.
Yes, I feel that way about you, Laura Heywood.
Oh my gosh, at MFF too, it's like such a burner community.
What's MFF?
Mark Fisher Fitness.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That makes
I have
sense.
never been to Burning Man.
It's awesome.
I'm a little scared of it.
What are you scared of?
I'm scared because, so I like to describe my interest in being social with people as if it's an iPhone app. So I say extroversion is my best app, but it drains the battery real fast. And if I don't have an opportunity to be alone and plug in and recharge, the app stops working and it malfunctions.
Yeah.
And I think that there's part of me that feels really drawn to Burning Man. Like I would find community there like I'd never had before. And then there's another part of me that's like, maybe I would never feel so lonely as being in the middle of the desert with a bunch of people who I expected to understand me who don't.
Well, that's the thing, is going in with expectations. It is for some people and it's not. And you might find that. Who knows what your experience is. What I have found, I mean, I still feel like I'm a newbie in my 5 years, and this will be my 6th, hopefully, if I get to go, that your experience is what you put into it. And that's why participation is one of the 10 principles. And there are so many services and workshops and events there that really are thought-provoking, are stimulating for the spiritual experience. Like, there are workshops on physics. There are workshops on, like, finding your spiritual center. There, you can go out and do whatever you want. So if you're feeling like you need to be away, there are many things and places that you can go to find that. There was one time, one of my favorite Burning Man experiences. My best burn was when I was sober, surprisingly, because Burning Man gets, I guess, appropriately stereotyped as just being a drug haven, which it can be that if that's what you're going and looking for. And you will find that. You'll run into people who are high. But you'll also find people who have chosen a different experience. So,
we have a mutual friend, Kevin Merritt, who goes every year with his kids.
I babysat his kids.
Yeah,
that was the year I was sober.
Yeah.
And it was the most beautiful experience, especially his daughter Shyla, who was 5 at the time, fell asleep in my arms and then had a nightmare and woke up, and I was holding her. And that was like, oh, this is the best Burning Man moment.
Wow.
But I was having a tough moment, and I needed to be away. I needed a moment of solitude, so I just rode my bike out to Deep Playa, I just needed to get away. And I stumbled across this lonely jukebox in the middle of the desert, and
like a legit
old
school
jukebox, and David Bowie's Life on Mars was playing, and it was so perfect. And I just started sobbing and then screaming it out and singing as loud as I wanted to, and then dancing, just dancing to Life on Mars. And it was just it was what I needed. So there's a saying, the playa provides, and you'll find what you need. And it's good to go inward and recharge your battery. It's appropriate there.
I gotta do it, I think.
Yeah.
I am totally going through a midlife crisis, I think. Like, I'm thinking of, like, I've had the same hair for my whole life, and I'm finally growing out the dyed blonde, and I'm, like, going back to my natural color, which I think is very similar to your natural color, which is like a dark blonde, sort of caramel color. I'm thinking about cutting it off or, like, dyeing it hot pink, which I've never done. I'm like, maybe I should, like, get a mohawk or something.
Girl,
I'm my own boss. I can do whatever I want. Like, who says what the rules?
Yes.
Maybe I don't have to be so normcore all the time.
No.
And it feels silly, kind of silly. Like, there's a voice telling me it's silly to do this at this stage in my life when I'm like quote unquote, I'm an old lady having a midlife crisis. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it now. Life's too short.
Do it.
I'm not getting a mohawk right away. I'm going to start with growing out the blonde.
Yeah, that's a good. I full on shaved my head on January 1st, 2018, and I let my fiance's nephew, who was 3 at the time, shave it.
Whoa. I mean, I guess you can't worry that they're going to give you a bad haircut if the hair is going anyway.
It's like, let's just do it. He loved it. And I had this realization. It's like, I've always wanted to shave my head. I'm 33 years old at the time. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to shave my head. I did it at a time in my life where I was going through a period of depression. So I would not recommending doing it on a low point, because it's not going to make you feel better.
Right.
Or it might. That was my experience. But I had a mohawk for a while. It was rad. Don't shave your sideburns ever unless you're going to shave the whole side of your head. Just a pro tip. And I had bleach in my hair that I cut my hair off. One of the reasons, because I wanted to get rid of all the dye. I just wanted to accept my hair for what it is.
Totally. I'm thinking that when my roots are like 1.5 inches or 2 inches now, it looks right now like I just haven't gotten to the salon in a while.
I think it looks natural.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise.
Okay.
But I think in like 6 months, it will have grown out long enough that I can get a really cute like pixie cut.
Go for
and
it.
get rid of all of the processed, bleached out.
You know what the best part about that is leaving the house, not having to do your hair or worry about it. I think it's important for women to have that experience of not worrying about their hair, just like accept not having to do any work for their head. It's great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We are getting close to the end of the show, and this is actually my favorite part of the show, because we do one last segment, and I say we do it just 'cause, by which I mean we're going to talk about a just cause. Play on words. I think that play on words is intentional because we shouldn't need a reason to talk about doing good in the world. And you are involved in so many different incredible organizations. You've told me a little bit about a bunch of them, but the one that I was the most excited about talking about today with you is called TONYA Soy Apiario, which is an apiary, a bee farm in Aguada, Puerto Rico, that was devastated by Hurricane Maria and is in the process of rebuilding. And you've actually been there.
Yeah, I was out there for the first phase. Yeah.
So tell me about what that means, the first phase, and what you found when you were out there at this bee farm in Puerto Rico.
Family, Carlos Chamato and his wife Noemi, they were expecting their 4th child, and their roof got destroyed, taken off of their home, and their nonprofit bee farm was destroyed. They had 55 hives, and I think they had 15 at the most after the hurricane.
Wow.
And so friends of theirs had heard about Earthship Biotecture, which is the academy program I went to, where they build off-the-grid, self-sustainable homes made out of things like bottles, cans, and tires. And so they worked together with this group and this family on this bee farm to build a home of 5 dwellings. It's an Earthship villa. And so I was there helping construct the first one, and the first dwelling, well, first and a half. And what we do is we pound these tires with earth, and they create 300-pound bricks, and they collect thermal mass. And all these homes, they have thermal mass, food production, rainwater collection, as well as recycling, their own self-contained sewage systems. and you're able to manage your trash. So we're not contributing to global pollution. We're actually the solution to pollution. And so now this family has decided that they are using their home that all of these troops of volunteers have built, and they're going to use their home as a school for sustainability to teach the rest of the island how to build with these readily available materials and to take autonomy for their lifestyles.
It's incredible. And I mean, we all, I think, are aware of the fact that bees in general are, so crucial to the health of the planet, and they're disappearing.
Yeah.
And so even if it was just about the bees, this would be an important cause. But the fact that it's also a school for sustainability, that they are building an off-the-grid, self-sustainable, hurricane-proof home on the farm that will also be the school. And then in addition to creating these beehives that will serve the entire island of Puerto Rico. We all know Puerto Rico still use a ton of help, and that the mainland government has really failed the island. And so I will be making a donation in your honor today to tainasoy.org. That's TAINASOY.org. And I encourage my listening audience to do the same. I believe that little drops in a bucket make a big difference.
Yep.
And so I'm going to put a drop in there, and I'm hoping that everybody listening will also make a drop in the bucket. TAINASOY.org. Taina Soy Apiario. April, I am thrilled to see you. I'm so excited about all of your projects. I Know Me, your one-woman show, is going to be at the Laurie Beechman in July. This is a show that's available. I mean, my radio show is available around the world, so I want to make sure that people in Seattle and people in Vegas and other cities to be announced, check out your website, aprilkidwell.com, for dates and tickets for all of your shows. We could also see April in You Don't Know Me, which just premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival, and you can check out film festivals near you. Hopefully, at some point, that'll also appear on a streaming platform. You're also going to be in The Bride of Death, and you're in Eat the Rainbow, which also hopefully we'll be able to see somewhere, whether it's at a film festival or in a screening streaming platform.
Hopefully I can make you laugh and make you terrified.
That sounds like a good combination. And I also want to make sure people are following at I Know Me Show on Instagram. We're just about at the end of our time together. I'm so thrilled that you're here. If you're listening on the free podcast version, please consider becoming a patron on dnrstudios.com/Laura, because that's how I will have the resources to keep making this show. I'm Laura Heywood. Coming up on the next Laura Heywood interviews, John Cameron Mitchell, and so much other fun stuff coming up too. Thanks for being with me.
I'm so grateful. Thank you.